looking into the high level of finance power that the sovereign funds and institutions and high net worth individuals who are going to be behind this global initiative. We were very honored to had a meeting last month with His Royal Highness Prince Hassan bin Talal of Jordan and His Excellency Dr. Hazem. And it's the first time, and we are very, very privileged and honored that this international water bank, which is the first of its kind in the world, will be the honorary chairman who has given his approval will be His Royal Highness Prince Hassan bin Talal, and this is a great thing for us on the global, because he is a well-known personality on that level and can play a significant role in supporting this. So at the end of the day, we come back to a very important point. We do have water in the world, but we have a truly mismanagement. We need to focus on a true cooperation between countries and organization into this aspect. And we believe the means is there. Even if it starts on a small level, it can really lead to a major big things around. At the end of the day, I want to thank Mr. Khaldoun for his distinguished efforts again, and His Excellency as well. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for that.
Thank you, Dr. Rashad, for presenting this exciting opportunity about the International Water Bank and the prospects for funding and implementation of projects on the ground. Last but not least, I'd like to invite Dr. Hazem and Naser to talk to us about his daily operations in the sector. He's been there now for about 5 years, managing under very challenging conditions of increasing demand, Syrian refugees, starting new projects, not enough funding coming into the sector, either from the government or probably from the donors. What is it that Jordan has done so far, in your opinion, Dr. Hazem, to increase the resilience of the water sector? And how do you see it moving forward? What are the challenges remaining to move forward? Please, Dr. Hazem.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rashad. Well, Jordan did a lot to make the water sector more resilient. And I have to be more accurate by saying Jordan and international donors did a lot to make the water sector more resilient. And the proof for the resilience of Jordan's water sector that we managed to absorb 1.4 million Syrian refugees almost overnight without reaching a crisis level or crisis management. Of course, this again triggers the fragility of the water sector in Jordan. As I said this morning, there are two major reasons that make water sector fragile ones. Lack of water resources is the case of Jordan, and lack of financial resources, again, the case of Jordan. But in other cases, financial resources and water resources might not be the only elements that contribute to water sector fragility. For example, the case that we just heard about it from our friend Al-Shawa, and I did mention this in my opening speech this morning, which is the Arab Gulf salinity. Not only salinity, but la samahallah, if there is an accident of oil leak, this will immediately trigger fragility of water sectors, because redundancy of water supply in this case is not available, and if available, will be in a very much limited amount. So what to be done to make sectors more resilient and to keep away from fragility? There is, of course, a lot of measures and actions and programs and projects to be included. But the most important thing is to have a strong water institution. And this needs good governance, which is, as I said again this morning, this is a major problem and challenge that we have in the Arab world. We're running almost across the whole Arab world with poor water governance. And this is not only in the hands of the water managers, because definition of good water governance means the contribution of a set of political, economical, social, financial, judicial system that lead to good governance, which leads to good service at the end of the day. So this is a major thing that countries need to work on it. Mr. Raed, I don't want to talk too much because I want to give time to the audience to ask some questions, but I will be available also after this meeting if anybody has a particular comment or question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hazem. All right, we'll have about 15 minutes. We'll open the floor for questions. Please keep the question short and address one of the panel guests here. All right, questions? تفضل. لو سمحت على الميكروفون. هاي. يلا تفضل. تفضل.
Thank you for this opportunity to ask the question here. My name is Taha Al-Washali, and I am a PhD researcher in UNESCO H.E. And my question is for His Excellency, the Chairman of the International Water Bank. You emphasized that the problem with water isn't scarcity, but management. This is a global vision. And you also emphasized that there is no contingencies plans for Gulf countries for the desalination options. So I can conclude that you let's say, advantage water demand management over water supply management in this region. So my question is whether is there any analysis or is there any water balance for the MENA region that reflects this conclusion of that there is available water in the MENA region for the population, especially in the situation of climate change and population growth here in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take another question if we have any. All right. Let's add. Yes, please. Come here. Come.
Hear me? Okay. Okay, Rashad mentioned, I was wondering if you can elaborate on the role of the private sector if you are planning to engage them.
Let's start with the first question about water demand management and what role it can play in addressing some of the supply challenges in the region before we move into expensive water schemes. That was the first question. And the second question from here was related, I could not really hear you again. Private sector, the role of the private sector. All right. Please.
As a matter of fact, regarding your question onto the water demand and for the region, and we know all the figures for it at the current levels today. Of course, if you look at the growth of population and
Test 1, 2.
And the big demand of water into the MENA region is going to be very challenging. If we take today, I mean, the capacity of supplying water on the current levels is very low. The point is, if you want to look at, for example, the GCC countries, if I want to take back to your question on a small scale, which can be implemented on a bigger scale, if we take a country like Kuwait, Kuwait is the total built-up area at the moment is about 10% of the country, and with a population of 4 million people. If the current level go to about of building the country or the 30% with a population of 8, that means the country will be facing major challenges. The annual increment of water per annum is 8%. So that means what they have today of facilities of desalination is going to be doubled in the next 13 to 15 years. And it will be very impossible to put all the shore with desalination plant, because at the end of the day, we know the high cost of that. And in reality, it is very expensive. Unfortunately, what you see on prices of water is not accurate in calculations. And whenever they mention to you the prices of desalination, it is not true. I give you one example, and this apply into the GCC Council. There is no risk factor, there is no loss of opportunity factors, and there is no insurance. Nobody can believe that a country like Kuwait, all the desalination plants are not insured. And at the end of the day, this is create a big problem. So now, if I would address the second question, which is about the private sector, actually the main concrete base for creating this international water bank will be to have a real cooperation between the private sector and the public sector. And mainly, we can offer finance to the private sector in implementing government, because governments at the end of the day, they cannot take all the load and all the requirements into the finance, and this is a true fact, and this is really a major obstacle into the finance of water and into the development of projects on that level.
Thank you, Dr. Rashad. Yes, Ms.Nancy.
So on demand management, I think it's also a case of working smarter, not harder. looking at non-revenue water, how do we stop leaks? How do we use the water supply and decrease the demand in a more efficient manner? Whether that's through hydroponics, some of the work Rashad has done in producing higher value crops. But I go back to the ambassador to Jordan from Sweden
Just
and his comments on how women are water managers in the household. For me, one of the things that I think collectively all of us to look at is the amount of women
just
that are working and influencing the water sector. As I just told His Excellency, one of the things I do when I'm on panels and in conferences is I usually try to count the number of women that are in the room, those influencers, those policymakers. Today, I think I only counted about 30, 35 women in the room. And I think that that's something in terms of water management and working smarter is to involve more women in the decision making from the beginning. So working smarter, not harder, involving more people around the decision making.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Ahmed, تفضل. Okay, thanks, Ahmed. Other questions? Yes, please. تفضل، هاي الميكروفون عندك.
ماجد أبو زريق من جامعة العلوم والتكنولوجيا الأردنية. I would like you to comment on the micro solutions of people. How can we encourage people to manage their life in terms of crisis? The reason why I'm mentioning this, Dr. Hazem, is we talk about the 1.4 million refugee camps and the resilience of water resources. And actually, this is a measure of the resilience of the people. They adapt themselves to low water. Also in the GCC country, the contingency plans for shut off the land. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago in the American University of Sharjah, and they talk about 1 or 2 days actually reserve for water if case desalination shut off. And to me, the micro solution of people is to build, for example, tanks for each person there, for each house. That will cover him for one month, for example.